Hi, and welcome to the technological revolution of esports. I'm Travis Maynard. I'm an esports agent over at UTA, and I will be moderating the panel today for you. Video games, they seem pretty cut and dry. You play them on a PC or a console or a mobile device, and in order to kind of immerse yourself into a new world, or to solve puzzles, or to even battle against other opponents to see who's best at the game. But with the invention and the rise of Twitch and online content creation, it's felt like there's a more passive engagement for the audience in this new gaming industry. With that, we've had to actually make technological advances within our industry in order to connect the people watching at home to the people playing the game. And in order to do that, we tried our hardest to make a connection between the two that is an experience instead of just a passive engagement. And today I have four very special guests to kind of talk to you about the technological advances in the past few years in esports and what we have to look forward to in the coming years. So let me please introduce you to Seth Schneider, Heather Garazzo, and Darren Yan. Guys, let you guys all introduce yourselves.
So hey, I'm Seth Schneider. I'm the Senior Esports Product Manager at Nvidia. I cover pretty much anything that relates to competitive gaming, like 360 Hertz, Nvidia Reflex, pretty much anything that touches on esports and the competitive side of play.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Garazzo. I'm the VP of Talent at Dignitas. So I work closely with our players and our content creators on how we build their brands, get them into new, exciting content opportunities. In addition to that, I'm a former professional Counter-Strike player of many, many years. And I also work in the broadcasting world. So I'm an observer for Counter-Strike and Valorant. So essentially what that is a in-game director for different tournaments. So I've got my hands in a lot of different pots, as many of us do in esports.
And I'm Darren Yan. I'm the head of talent management here at FaZe Clan. I've been here for about 2 years, and I oversee our group of talent managers who manage our content creators' personalities, as well as a few of our pro players that want to dabble in content creation as well. I'm also overseeing the acquisition and development strategies of all FaZe Clan personalities and talent as well, amongst just also being a talent manager for a few of our core personalities and talent on our roster.
Cool. Great. Well, guys, I'm just going to kind of jump right into it. Just do an open topic here for everybody to jump in on. But, one of the things I was thinking about is, from your perspective, since everybody's got a diverse background, in the past 5 years, what do you think is the single biggest invention or technological advance in esports or video games? I can start with Seth.
Yeah, so this is it's an interesting question. If it's a single advance or a single technological advancement, I think it's hard to pin. I think in the intro you kind of hit on one of the things that is really moving the needle, which is kind of the broadcasting and streaming, the rise of Twitch, the rise of everyone becoming a broadcaster. Looking at the numbers, we're seeing that inspire players. At least on the GeForce side, about 75% of GeForce gamers play esports games. So the more these content creators, the more these streamers can connect with their audience and use better technology for better quality streams, easier to access streaming platforms. They're inspiring people to play. They're inspiring people to be part of this community. Taking those people who might have been passive, making them active, and even bringing in more passive viewers. So I think if we look back 5 years ago, we didn't necessarily see this, or we saw the starting of this trend. But today, I think one of the main ways people engage and socialize is through esports and competitive gaming. Whether it's the big stage or whether it's your, school club, people are watching. They're inviting their friends to watch, and seeing that shift, I think, has been one of the biggest changes in the last 5 years, at least from my perspective.
And I'll add on to what Seth said as an extension of that. It's kind of IRL streaming in the sense that we as an organization and a team and our content creators, it's more than just sitting in front of a computer now. Like they are connecting, our fans and our talent are connecting with their their community like on a 24/7 basis. So, and in our facility here, we've got a number of these IRL backpacks that you can put on your backpack. You have a HD camera in front of you. You've got 4 modems in there. And at a time when our players could travel the world, obviously we're not right now, we were carrying those with us, and we were broadcasting live, raw and uncut, everything that's happening behind the scenes with the team. The tournament organizers do a great job of showing what happens live in an event, but we as an organization feel it's on us to show what happens behind the scenes. And with that has been a huge rise in like the just chatting section of Twitch is now one of the most popular, sometimes more than a lot of these popular games. So we think that's fascinating as a team, and it's a big content opportunity.
Yeah, I'm going to echo both Seth and Heather, and I think for me, I think the biggest change, I don't think it was just in the last 5 years, but more so just the evolution of the last decade, is just how much technology has advanced, but also cheapened. At the same time, it's a lower barrier to entry for a lot of people in accessibility. For example, internet is increasingly getting faster and cheaper at the same time. You're now having people around the world in maybe third world countries that never had internet, 3-4 years ago, that all of a sudden are now playing video games and now doing it through, a small mobile device even, right? So I think that those two things and those two factors for me, accessibility and the cheapening and barrier to entry is I think a huge game changer, especially in our industry.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a different ball game now, for sure.
Yeah.
So my next question is going to be for Darren. Actually, it's a good segue. So, FaZe is known around the world. Big name. So, when you're thinking about ways to connect FaZe to their fans, like what is your main focus, and how do you kind of execute on that?
So I think the biggest focus for us is, and has always been, is relatability. We want our fans to feel like they're a part of the FaZe Clan inner circle, that they direct friends and families, or when they're consuming our content or engaging with our talent or players, that they feel like they're in the room with them at all times. So when I'm thinking about that, I also want to think about whether these fans might one day want to become FaZe Clan members themselves, right? So that's why you might see us even sign new talent that you've never heard before, because they might be an average Joe Schmo, and we want to be able to say that, hey, you sitting on your couch at home have the ability to become a FaZe Clan member, and us doing things like the Phase 5 recruitment challenge that's currently going on. We have over 250,000 submissions, and we did not discriminate in terms of who could submit. It doesn't matter if they were a content creator or a graphic designer or a director. We felt like putting on a competition like this meant every single person, no matter what their ability was, what equipment they had, they all had a fair shot at becoming a FaZe Clan member. So that's always top of mind whenever it comes to connecting with their fans.
It's awesome. I mean, I guess a follow up to that is, and let's see, I'll see if you can encapsulate it pretty easily for us. But what is the FaZe mission?
So the FaZe mission is, in a nutshell, is like we always want to be at the forefront of youth culture, whatever that means, right? I think that for us, the way that we have branched out historically, it wasn't just about gaming. Gaming was always our anchor, but we were really about showing and telling stories about our talent that's goes way beyond gaming, right? And I think that's how we're able to kind of reach all these different youth cultures, whether it be in music or skateboarding or MMA, whatever appeals to our general audience that goes beyond just gaming as well. I think that's always been a mission for us. Gaming will always be our anchor, but let's just be at the forefront of youth culture.
And have you found any kind of like tech that's helped you with that, made it easier to actually accomplish that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, we're not like the most technologically advanced company out there, far from. But I don't think that's what it is for us. I think our founding talents will tell you, what FaZe Clan is really about at its core. Like, we will always be the kids with the camera editing videos off of whatever PC we could afford, doing the most with the least, right? And going back to my point of accessibility and cheap technology, that's where we were born out of, right? And no matter how big we get, people like Banks and Apex and Tommy will always tell me, keep with the ethos, keep with the culture that the kids feel like they can do anything with nothing. And so when it comes to technology, that's why our guys, doesn't matter how much money they have or what they could afford, they're still using the same, consumer or prosumer equipment that could be easily bought at a Best Buy, right? And I think for us, that is what the relatability and accessibility that matters to us.
That's awesome. Thanks, man. So I'd like to move on to Heather if we can just for a minute. So what is the biggest difference that you see? I know you said you're a pro gamer. I actually had no idea you were an observer. I think they are like the unheralded, unsung heroes of our industry. But as an ex-pro player coming into this side of business on Dignitas, what is it like making that shift, and how does Dignitas balance not only their pro teams but their content creators all at the same time and make it harmonious?
Sure. So it's certainly more stressful on the team side than actually playing. I didn't realize how much effort goes into building a team. So as a player, you're warming up and you're watching game tape and you're showing up to event. And yeah, I mean, back in my day, we didn't have sports psychologists or nutritionists or anything. So I was just warming up and going into the server. Now as an organization, we need to look after our players' health. It's our responsibility, both their mental and their physical health. We need to be on top of all the equipment they use, especially in a COVID world where the difference between a couple FPS and a couple ping can make or break a game for you. So we have to make sure we're on top of all the equipment with them, on top of their very busy schedules, which somehow, they're not traveling right now, yet they're busier than ever between content for a team, their personal content, their competitions, the media that they do. So we certainly keep very busy on the team side. And then, of course, trying to bring in extra partnerships, media opportunities, because we want to grow their brands so that when they maybe are no longer at Dignitas, they still have a very bright future. And we've helped build their career well beyond professional gaming. I think that's one of the things most important to us. Is when I was a player, I wasn't thinking about it. I was going to play my entire life, and that was it. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily the case for most people. So we want to make sure we're helping them with pave a path for their future. And then keeping a balance. How do we keep a balance between content creators and pro teams? Well, that line's starting to blur a bit in that, our pro teams are content creators, and we do look for that too when we bring in new players, new talent. Obviously, they're going to be more attractive to potential partners in media if they do have a strong content background. But at the same time, we want to, like I said, we have to manage their mental and physical health too. So years ago, it'd be like, play as much as you can, stream as much as you can. We try to limit that, and a lot of our teams since joining Dignitas, they actually play less because we think it's going to be better for both their mental and physical health.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just interested, especially as an observer and a pro player. Like, is there any tech that's come along that you wish you had when you first started those things? Like,
oh gosh, yeah, a lot has changed since starting Counter-Strike in 1999. I think the biggest thing is the access to data analytics, things like Shadow GG, Skybox. I can load up a demo from Counter-Strike and get all this information about my habits, about my opponent's habits. I used to have to sit there for hours on end taking notes of what happened at demo. And now these tools are just spitting back all this information for me. I've got coaches, I've got analysts that are going to tell me what I should or shouldn't do. So we take, as an organization, these programs, and we as coaching staff take a lot of the work off the players, and they can focus on just simply being the best players. And the numbers are going to help drive their decisions instead of just taking guesses here or going through the very cumbersome process of watching game tape. So I'm incredibly jealous of all these tools that the players have, and there's more. There's new startups coming every day focused on data analytics. These games are like open boxes of numbers, and eventually I think we'll see those coming into getting access for like amateur players. Right now, a lot of these are paid tools, but I imagine they're going to eventually be open to the amateur player to quickly expedite their skills.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you. I just actually shift over to Seth real quick. Seth, Nvidia had like a huge, like lots and lots of releases. Can you dig into some of the products that you guys released and like why those products? Why not something different?
Oh man, where to start? Yeah, this was a crazy year for Nvidia. 2020 was. First and foremost, we released Ampere, our new GPUs for esports. That is, they're the best GPUs out there. They're great for esports, and it's another step in that direction. That's the easy one, right? We're always going to be releasing new, faster GPUs. Some of the more esports specific stuff that we did was 360 hertz and Nvidia Reflex. So at Nvidia, typically what we do is not just try to go to the next thing. We try to innovate on something new, and a lot of that starts with our research. And so we have actually an esports research team inside of Nvidia that goes and looks at player performance, the impacts of your system, the instrument that we play video games on, and how that impacts your actual play. And so one of the things that separates video games from movies is that video games is interactive, and the measure of that interactivity is latency. And when we think about latency, it's the time it takes our actions to end up as actions on screen, right? End up as pixels on screen. And really, we found through our research that is probably one of the most important aspects and metrics to be looking at for competitive play. And it makes sense if you think about it. You want your actions to end up instantaneously on screen if possible. It gives you better connectedness, and it allows you to be able to reach those next levels that you really wouldn't be able to in the past, right? It gets the system out of your way and stops holding you back. And so through our research, we published at SIGGRAPH and a couple other conferences as well. We've seen this. And so that's what led us to create NVIDIA Reflex, which is effectively our low latency platform. It involves ways to go out and both measure it and to actually reduce it in games. And so we're working with many of the big game companies to integrate it. At the time of filming here, it's in Valorant, Fortnite, Apex Legends, all the Call of Duties, and more to come too. So it's there helping every gamer, and really it helps pretty much. It works on anything above a 900 series graphics card, so you don't actually need the top of line 30 series. So we're making esports a little bit more accessible by giving everybody access to lower latency. And kind of going back to what you were saying, Travis, about getting people involved, having these passive people be more interested in esports. This is helping players that can't necessarily afford maybe a $3,000 computer go out and actually be able to hop in game, get a good feeling, have lower latency, and start competing. Kind of also going to what Darren was saying about making what you have work, and kind of going towards that phase mission there. It's helping people be able to go and play competitively, play at their best. And so that's really where we've been focusing on as an esports product team over at NVIDIA. We've been focusing on reducing latency, getting the system out of the player's way, letting them play the best, and that it basically lets the stars shine, so to speak, right? The more you get it out of the way, the more you're going to find that, half a percentage of player that can hit those crazy flicks 100% of the time, right?
Yeah.
Good for viewers, good for consumers.
Yeah. When I was over at Riot, they used to talk about, playing on 60 ping versus playing on land, and like how that's like playing with ankle weights, and then all of a sudden the ankle weights are off, and you're just like, oh wow, this feels way different. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are fighting the good fight on that one. So like, obviously some of this stuff is so far advanced, right? It's not going to go out of vogue next year or even 2 years down the line. So, I'm sure that's got to be somewhat of a problem when you're selling tech, right? You're not going to have a lot of turnover in like the new tech that comes out. So where do you guys see yourself placing a lot of your resources and a lot of your bets in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think I'll kind of attack that from two angles. I think, one way is we still will continue to innovate on the vectors that, are the traditional vectors, your FPS, your latency. It's like esports is like any other sport, right? People are still making golf clubs today, even if, that golf club innovation is a 0.5% to hit a meter further, the pros will play with that. And so just like in any sport, those tiny, as Heather was saying, those, 1 to 2 FPS difference, you can feel it. And pros, they pay attention to that stuff. So we will continue to innovate on those vectors for sure. But to your point, where are we heading? Where do we focus? Where's the next 3 to 5 years? I think one of the things that I would like to see really us as an esports industry focus on is player health and using technology to aid that, right? The retirement age of our star athletes is so young. It's a shame when it's like 30, they're over the hill later, man. It's not,
20,
that's a bummer.
25.
25, yeah. Like
You're aging at that point.
Hiko won
30,
the First Strike Invitational on Valorant. And it was amazing because he was 30. I was like, yes, all right, we can still do it. But I mean, to that point, I think we have the technology to analyze this stuff. We can figure out, where we're getting those stress injuries in the wrist, how we can change our sensitivities, our way that we play, the posture that we sit in, and help gamers be able to preserve, their instrument that makes them good at gaming as long as possible. And I think using some of this amazing tech that we've developed as far as latency, higher refresh rate with less eye strain, things like that, we can really start investing in some of the benefits and keeping our players playing longer. Because, with the growth of this industry and with the passive viewers, I think we're just getting started in terms of engagement, right? We want people to stay engaged with these personalities and be in this sport as long as possible. Having it end at 30 or 25 is, I think, too young.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'd like to bring everybody back real quick because, we're going to hit on a topic that you just really can't avoid right now. Obviously, every panel from now until who knows when will have to bring up COVID-19, right? And, the way I look at it is if you're a true innovator, if you're put into a box, you're going to find ways to either utilize that box to create something amazing, or you're going to find ways to kind of break outside that box, right? Within this box of COVID, have you guys seen anything in the industry that really kind of stuck out for you that said like, man, they nailed it. That was actually like utilizing the parameters that they were given.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen look, since the pandemic and COVID, gaming, live streaming platforms have literally replaced almost all forms of major entertainment, especially ones that are live. And some of the things that I've seen from other entertainment industries, like the music industry or the sports world, come into our world and try to do what we do and transform, their traditional kind of what their events look like. I thought was incredibly innovative. The amount of music festivals that I've seen on Twitch in the last couple of months to try to cater to that audience has been, really incredible to see. And look, it's not without its hiccups or its challenges, but I do think that even post-pandemic, there is going to be a world where some of these things that were innovated during this time will, continue to see, once it's all over, hopefully.
From my perspective, I'm used to many years as an observer traveling to events across the world every single weekend. Even when COVID, disappears, hopefully, I don't know if you're going to see big production rooms anymore of flying out 6 observers and all your casters and all your replay operators, because the broadcasts that have been put on this year between LCS and between Blast and Flashpoint and ESL and what Riot's doing with Valorant, it's absolutely incredible what they've been able to do remotely. As an observer, for example, I've used a tool called Parsec, and I'm able to remotely connect to the producer's PC, and we're getting top of the line quality, 20K bit rate sent out whenever possible. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. And then even all the players have adapted to the point everyone has their webcams, and their webcam feeds are being sent to the tournament organizers, and they're pulling those into the broadcast, and they're pulling the team communications into the broadcast when it doesn't hurt the competitive integrity. It's absolutely fascinating, the broadcast, and it's a little sad in that I might not be traveling as much anymore in the future, but that certainly reduces the budget to run these events and allowing you to put into maybe it's prize pools to help players. On the Dignitas end, obviously, you normally would go to an LCS tailgate and our fans would buy merchandise there, where that's not happening anymore. So we've done something with a few of our players through our partner Verizon, like a volumetric capture. So our players, Aphromoo, Hugs, and Artstar have got together in this room that's nearly 360 degrees of cameras. They film them wearing Dignitas merch, and that's going to pop up on their streams now, and their fans can scan a QR code and just see like a 3D look of Aphromoo wearing the Dignitas clothing and say, oh yeah, okay, that looks good on him, I'm going to buy that now. So it's really been fascinating what we can do as an industry, and I think some things are never going to go back to how they used to be, and potentially for the better for a lot of things.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it really has changed, and I don't think it's ever going to go back, right? It's COVID has been really hard for a lot of people, so it's hard to be excited about some of the good things it's done for gaming, but the growth, you can't turn a blind eye to it. Gaming is exploding right now. It is bringing people closer together. Kind of talking about what Darren was saying, other industries, I think right now in North America, the number one most televised esports event is an iRacing event on ESPN that happened during COVID, right? And so you see these other worlds starting to come in, and now people who never even have thought about gaming are seeing it, and going back to kind of the root of the panel here, kind of passive observers now engaging into our sport, and we're seeing this technology that's used to take traditional broadcast personalities, put them into esports and have it work, right? We've seen that throughout COVID, to where we're seeing our broadcast world and our esports world enter into kind of the mainstream. And so I think it was heading that direction, but I'd say COVID probably turbocharged it that direction a little bit, right? We're having to figure it out, and now it's starting to become kind of this mainstream platform, with Twitch and everybody, from the concerts on it to now you have musicians doing stuff in Fortnite kind of thing too, right? You have watch parties inside of the game. It's really kind of changing the landscape, both from the player's perspective, the esports organization perspective, and even from us as the hardware vendor side, it's definitely changing how we're looking at it. And, the future is definitely exciting, and it's constantly changing. So, we're taking the necessarily next steps to make it a good future for us all.
Yeah, it's crazy this year to see the dichotomy between something that's so advanced, like you said, concerts and video games, which started with the Marshmallow stuff and then went all the way. The Travis Scott thing was insane this year.
Yeah,
all the way to these really insanely old games like chess, bringing in a whole new world and platform, and how much that's exploded on Twitch, and it's just crazy to see those two ends of the spectrum. Well, I mean, I guess for me, when I look at this, do you think that there are other industries that have taught gaming a thing or two this year, and do you think that other industries need to come in and kind of learn a little bit more from gaming? I know there's so much overlap now between sports and entertainment and music and traditional Hollywood. I guess actually we can start with Heather on this one. Do you think there are industries that could learn more from us, or that we've taken really good tips from?
Yeah, I mean, you look to obviously the NBA is incredibly progressive and innovative, but some of the other traditional sports in North America, for example, not so much. And I think they're starting to turn an eye to say wait, maybe we could be closer to our fans if we're live streaming on Twitch, and we're opening our doors a little more to what's happening. And I know the NBA has been fantastic about that too, about really showing what it's like behind the scenes. Same with the NBA athletes are very involved in the esports industry, and I think a lot of the other professional sports could learn something from. Really, you feel closer, you feel closer to your team if you feel like what's going on behind the scenes, and maybe you have a voice. And so we do start to see some of those organizations start setting up Twitch channels, and maybe even things like going live on Instagram. I think the professional sports are definitely going to learn from esports there. I think traditional television, as maybe dated as it is, has a few great things that esports have learned from, whether it be I know in CS:GO we have like we kind of joke, we call it, your weatherman screens, where you're pulling up the map and you're expanding them and you're showing what's happened. That people never used to do that at esports. They'd have to pull up a replay clip, but you couldn't actually dig into the map on a screen that's interactive, and now that's pretty common in League and Counter-Strike, for example. So we've learned from old dated traditional television about actually how great these weatherman features can be.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Darren, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is more of an adjacent or ancillary industry to our own in gaming and esports. But I'd like to talk about just social media in general, and to answer both those questions. I think that gaming has learned a lot from kind of the traditional entertainment and social media spaces, where I felt maybe the gamers are a little bit of the late adopters to some major social media platforms. But then once they got on it, the way they've innovated some of that content, like some of the content that I've seen on TikTok around gaming, has been some of the best content I've ever seen in my life. And I would probably argue that our gamers are probably one of the later kind of influencers and creators to be on that. But once they get on it, they start to flip everything in every which direction. So, I've seen, just to Heather's point, I've seen us take some cues from traditional entertainment, but then we turn them back and say, hey, we can do that better, cheaper, and to a larger audience. And so that's where you're going to see, like Heather said, a lot of these traditional entertainment spaces like sports or like music really take cues from us after we took cues from them.
Yep. Seth, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a couple things for sure. I was recently watching Valorant's First Strike, and one of the things that I think Riot did really well there was starting to integrate sponsors in a little bit better of a way. Starting to look at it kind of like more traditional sports has. Like, we've always kind of had that in esports, but it's been very much like commercial break. Here's your sponsor. You know what I mean? And I think as we go on, that's something we can take kind of from the other traditional sports, is learning how to get more sponsorship, like better sponsorships into like the game, integrate it into the flow. That way it's not just like, here's a hard break. I think that's something we could take. And kind of harkening back to what Darren and Heather said, I think one of the things we do really well in esports that the other industries and other techs could probably pick up on is our engagement, right? Whether it be streaming and how we engage with the fans, and really utilizing technology and the massive amount of technology the viewers have now, right? Back in with traditional media, you basically just have a TV, which is not, it's an output only mainly device, right? It just you can watch it. That's it. Today you can interact typically with the device that you're on, and interact with whether it be in the stream chat or things like that. And that kind of separates us out and gives us kind of this unique advantage, and also kind of can help teach other industries how to really go out and get more people engaged and build that relationship inside of the broadcast and outside of the broadcast, right? Both Dignitas and FaZe do a wonderful job at that. And so I think that's probably something that we can give back to the wider industry, and from a technology side, purely technology side, I think, just gaming in general, esports in general, pushes PC performance. It pushes the bar for what computation does. Gaming is one of the most computational intense activities you can do. And those advancements to make games go faster bleed into every other part of the computing world. And so as esports grows, just the sheer will to make that hardware go faster is going to have benefits in other parts of the industry we can't even see. And so it's really a good thing. Gaming, brings people together, and it helps in more ways than one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay. You know what? I think I'm gonna start to wrap this up, but I want to ask two really rapid fire questions. Okay. First off, what do you guys think will be the biggest growth in 2021 for gaming? We'll start with Darren.
I'm gonna say the continued evolution of the lifestyle aspect about our industry. I think FaZe Clan, we've been doing it, for the majority of our history. but we're now seeing a lot of other esports orgs and the rest of the industry really take a focus, as as Heather said, as she demonstrated. What does this look like on Afromu? Like I think that we've mastered the gameplay. We've mastered everything to do with the competition. I think with more content, the lifestyle, the merch, the apparel, I think that's just going to be, just tenfolds next year.
Heather?
As an expansion of that, with gaming being a lifestyle, we're also seeing more women in the industry. I think the stats say now about 45% of gamers are women. That's incredible. Back in my day, I was the only one in the room. I didn't see anyone else. I think from the Dignitas side, about close to 40% of our followers are women. That's also amazing.
Awesome.
And with more women entering the industry, we're just going to see, more tech, more ideas. Events are going to be more inclusive. It's a very exciting time for esports, and I think 2021 is really going to explode, where you see women in competitions and more in live streams, etc.
Seth?
Oh yeah, it's hard to follow both of those. Yeah, I agree with both. I guess if I could throw another potential growth area, it's the science of gaming. As we see YouTube channels that are popping up that are more tutorial based, that are looking into the science. You have your Linus Tech Tips that are digging into the science of gaming. I think 2021 is going to be a big year for that side of things. Having competitive gamers and esports players, take an even deeper look scientifically at what's going on. As we start growing this space and it becomes kind of the established mainstream, you get all the other traditional pieces coming in, right? The sports psychologists, they're already there, but like the fields will continue to grow. So I don't know if we've hit that scientific kind of breakthrough of it all yet, but I think that's probably coming.
Cool. All right, last one, guys. It's kind of a fun one, so I just kind of want to. I know we can't predict the future, but I'm going to ask you to do it now. So 5 years from now, call your shot. What is going to be the biggest technological thing on the market in gaming? Seth, start with you.
Oh man, X5 and the biggest thing in the market in gaming.
Just anything you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest thing will be, I bet there's going to be a platform that makes esports, even more accessible than it is today, right? Like, to where you can have a weekend warrior team or whatever, and it's just kind of this mainstream platform that gets everybody more involved. We see the demand. The demand's pent up for like living your dream as an esports professional. I think there's a platform out there that'll exist that'll tap into that. We don't see today.
Cool. Heather?
All right, this is I really want to see this. I hope it exists in 5 years. So, as an observer, I'm the one that's controlling what's happening in the game. I want to be able to watch in the game in a VR headset. I want to put on a headset.
Nice.
I want to be able to walk around the map and Get Right is running past me up catwalk on Dust 2, and I get to experience that. The technology exists. I feel like it exists. It's just got to happen. But I just want to be in the game physically when it happens.
That's awesome. All right, Darren.
Hey, I mean, I kind of feel the same way with Heather. As much as I want my entire gaming experience to be like Cyberpunk or Player Ready 1, is it going to be there in 5 years? Fingers crossed, I hope so. But if it doesn't, I think, honestly, we're going to be talking about the same things in about 5 years, except everything is just going to be a lot more efficient. It's going to be a lot more creative. We're going to talk about how fast the internet is in 5 years, where it's a millisecond or like downloading 100 gigs or whatever. I think it's just going to be more efficient. I think we're going to talk about the same things. But I hope we're talking about really walking around in an immersive world as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. Honestly, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I've learned a lot. I've gotten a lot of really good insight from you guys. And I really appreciate everybody. If you guys have anything you want to say at the end, please feel free to do so. If not, everybody at home, thank you for watching the panel, and I hope you enjoy the rest of CES.